Hello, everyone. This is Tom, the Lone Wolf Prepper, and welcome to the Lone Wolf Prepper channel for Duke Hazard Friday Night Live. And boy, hasn't it been one heck of a week? You could definitely say that the tensions in the world have really ratcheted up this week. I guess Boss Hogg and Roscoe aren't too happy they lost the election, so they're not going to go peacefully, you might say. Anyway, a few channel things before we get into uh, how the world is basically about to go up in flames. By the way, the channel's growing little by little. YouTube's doing its best to keep it uh, shadow banned, that's for sure. Whatever. But, the eyeballs are on YouTube. I'm on Rumble and X too, but the eyeballs are on YouTube. And this is where I can make the most difference, I think. So that's why I'm here. Anyway, hope everybody's enjoying the shorts. I put out some really good ones this week, I think. YouTube doesn't like all of them, but the thoughts of the day seem to be getting more attention. So I appreciate that. I like the comments. Good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter. Okay? Just try to cut down on the insults. I can respond to your comment a lot easier if it's not a bunch of insults and swear words. And anyway, just try to be adults about it. It's not like I'm going to block you or cut you off because you got your First Amendment rights. This is my channel. I got to be thick-skinned. That I am. So, just try to be respectful. It's a lot easier to get your point across if you're not so angry. Anyway, I started a new channel. It's my paranormal channel. I want to it'll start out slowly. I ain't got a lot of time to spend on it, but it's called Hidden Truths. So I thought that was kind of a cool name for that stuff. Anyway, if you like the material, like say YouTube's being really hard on this channel. I figured they'd lighten up after Trump won, but I guess they're in their cry rooms. They're really bitter at Trump supporters, and they got their little piece of power that they can use against us by messing with our constitutional rights, freedom of speech. So, if you like it, share them out and stuff. Anyway, that's all I got on channel stuff tonight. Anyway, let's get into this world. Last week, I think it was my Friday night live stream where I was talking about peace and prosperity. We were still in the euphoria of Trump winning, and the Democrats were, just kind of staying quiet and stuff. And, things were looking up. Stock market was going up. Bitcoin's going through the roof. Everybody was feeling positive. And then Joe Biden has to give a little speech, start walking away into the Amazon jungle, and gives permission to Ukraine to use long-range missiles, our long-range missiles, into Russia. Another red line crossed. Okay? But and then just yesterday or today, authorized personnel mines to be used, given to them and stuff. If all these countries are against this stuff, why do we even have them? Okay, war's hard enough to have to deal with booby traps and mines and stuff. There's so much that you got to worry about. Anyway, well, let's stay on subject, okay? But they keep pushing Russia. 58 days left. He walks off in the Amazon, gives them permission to use long-range missiles. Doesn't say nothing to the American people, knowing that it could trigger a nuclear response. What president does that? Knowing you're going to do something that could start a war. Anyway, just couldn't fly off in the Air Force One and enjoy his last couple months in office and just enjoy the lame duck session and enjoy the time off. Anyway, nope. But I guess this is what the Democrats are going to do since they lost the election. Yeah, they're going to do a peaceful transition. They're just going to start World War III in the process. Peaceful with Trump. They've wanted this war for so long. I hope Russia don't bite. But anyway, this is what I'm talking. We're on the brink of nuclear annihilation. Cuban Missile Crisis 2.0 by far. Far more scarier than that. Like say the Russians, they put their tail between their legs and they turned around and said no. Actually, I think how it went down is they didn't have no communication with Washington. And the Russian people had no idea what was going on. And in order for Washington to get the message so the nuclear war wouldn't start, they broadcast it all over the radio. Yeah, their radios. And people are, what's going on here? Just so the U.S. wouldn't start launching nuclear missiles. Yeah, they ain't going to do that this time. They're not going to do that this time. But anyway, yeah, no word from Biden. Nothing. He's, where's the Oval Office address? Somebody to sit there and tell us what the hell is going on and why we need to do this 58 days before you leave office. And then they want to sit there and slam as much money to Ukraine as possible before then. Doesn't matter. As soon as Trump gets in office, within 2 days, Zelensky's going to be sitting down. The war is going to be over. Okay. Well, and then Britain also gave permission to Ukraine to use their long-range missiles, which I forget the name of the darn things. I really don't care about it. The thing is, we're using NATO's equipment, and I'll put us as NATO against Russia. Don't you think Russia may think that we're at war with them? Does anybody remember why Germany sank the Lusitania? Anybody in 1917? When we weren't even in the war, World War I yet? Why did they sink the Lusitania? Because it was carrying ammunition and arms and stuff for the British in the war. Yeah, that's why all those civilians died. What do, sink in 18 minutes or some crazy stuff like that? Yeah. But, the U.S. and Britain, we may have been enemies at one time, but it's like our governments are still best friends. That's the way I look at it. And these long-range missiles, okay, yes, we got Americans and British running them. I don't think it's military, though, because this is what happens. When you're in a field like that and you're getting ready to get out of the service, they try to recruit you as civilian reps, where you're still basically doing how can I explain this? You got civilians in your shops and stuff. You got civilians that they're not charged, but they interact with you for technical support and stuff. And a lot of these guys that get out of the service that are in this get recruited for this. I know this goes on. I wasn't going to get recruited. I'll just say that. Oh, sweet deals. But I think it's those guys, they're prior military that became civilian advisors in these companies like Grumman and Litton and, McDonnell Douglas and Boeing and stuff. And they get in And there's the ones that are doing it. It's not our military doing it. It's just guys that used to be in the military that worked on it and did that stuff, that did in the service that are now doing it as civilians for civilian contractors. That's what I think it's going on there. Anyway, yeah, when you get out and you got credentials like that coming out of the service, the people, the companies, the equipment you were working on with the companies, they try to recruit you. They don't have to sit there and go to the civilian world and find somebody. You got, anyway, the technical side of the service is extremely different than the ground side. I got to experience both. Anyway, so to give permission to the long range missiles, the personnel landmines, okay, and then let's not forget the F 16s. That was the line that was crossed, okay, and didn't they approve? Weren't they starting to use cluster munitions too? What was that? Almost a year ago, I think. I mean, they're just pushing them. 58 days left. Why would you do that? Why would you want a war to start in your lame duck session so the next president has to deal with it? Okay? Don't worry, the war is going to end. Let's just hope that they don't push them so far that Russia's in a point where they got to go tactical nukes or whatever. It's crazy. It's crazy how far this has got. But let's remember how this all started out back in February of 2022, right? When they invaded in March. And before the first spending package, the first $40 billion that Congress actually voted on, they were giving a little humanitarian aid and stuff. And I think they were doing some with ammunition and stuff. But when that first spending package went, then they started sending over the howitzers. And I think they were sending Bradley vehicles, probably for reconnaissance and stuff. A lot of howitzer ammunition. Remember, Zelensky went up to Pennsylvania and went to that ammunition factory with the governor of Pennsylvania. Yeah, I remember seeing videos of that too during World War II. Anyway, but yeah, it was just humanitarian aid, and they got that 40 billion. You remember, 40 billion is all they need, and we're up to what, at least probably 220 billion, probably 240 billion by Biden gets that time he gets out of there. But like I say, then we started having bigger guns, ammunition. That's when the free checks started. That's when the money just started flowing. Oh, the Congress doesn't have to. I'll give them a $500 million or $2 billion. Whatever, that doesn't have to go through Congress. I mean, we're funding a war between two other nations. It's crazy. Okay, and then it escalated to what? Tanks. Or M1 Abrams, the German tank they had. Germans fighting the Russians. That's just too symbolic in tanks. It's too symbolic. But then the tanks came in, and I think that's when they brought in the Patriot missile battery defenses, didn't they? I think that was the time, and that's when they started talking about training the Ukrainian pilots for the F-16s and bringing the F-16s over. That's when all that started, remember? Now, of course, if they would have did that on day one, say we want 240 billion here in the next week, and we're going to give them use of long-range missiles progressively. I mean, that war has been going on 2 years and 9 months now. And they're getting impatient that Russia hadn't started World War III yet. Anyway, and then, F-16s, and now we're at long-range missiles being shot. And I even hear talk about nuclear weapons for Ukraine, giving them some of them back that they had during the Cold War and stuff. There were so many promises that NATO and the U.S. gave Russia when Russia fell apart, and every one they've reneged on. And I guess giving weapons back to Ukraine, well, what the hell? They're reneging on everything else. I guess making a pact with the United States, it's kind of like making a pact with, or the United States or NATO, it's kind of like making a pact with Hitler, huh? Our government goes with these treaties of peace and everything just as much as they uh, followed the peace treaties and land deals they did with the Indians back during the Indian wars, right? Yep. Anyway, let's not bring that up. That's a subject for a whole nother time. Anyway, so yeah, now it's a nuke talk for Ukraine. Okay. It's crazy how much money we up to. Does anybody really know the true number? And then they're selling our weapons on the black market. These Ukrainians are leaving their country with suitcases full of money. It's sick, okay? It's sick. But now let's get to Russia's response. Of course, after all this they've been doing, any response Russia did is irrational, childish, not called for. Even though Putin can't travel the world freely because he could be arrested. We told him that we want to dismantle our country and put him on trial for crimes against humanity, and we know where that ends up for a world leader. And the Russian people are behind this, okay? As Americans, we don't understand what it's like to live in Russia. Okay, we don't know the fears that they have against the West. All right, I was in the Marine Corps during the Cold War and after the Cold War was won. But Putin's an OKGB agent. Of course, he's going to be a little reluctant to trust the U.S., especially with the U.S. I mean, we wouldn't even be having this Ukraine thing if the CIA went into Ukraine and did that coup against the duly elected government that was pro-Russia. That's what started to sell off in 2014. 10 years now it's been going on. They've been itching for this war with Russia. God, Putin, you need to hold on another 58 days. But anyway, so anything Russia does to defend themselves is irrational. That's one thing about the U.S. We're allowed to go anywhere in the world, do whatever we want in that part to that country, and they're not allowed to say anything. But we have an enemy that wants to act like us. Well, that's uncalled for. Really? Russia. Let's get into Russia's response first. That intermediate ICBM that they launched. And thank God they didn't have explosive tips. They were just, Wrath of God type stuff, titanium shooting down from the sky. But it was a warning. Plus, they were as a test. They get to use their equipment now because the U.S. is shooting long-range missiles into their country. They're allowed to field test all these weapon systems now that have never been used. Let's say, what are we going to do if they decide to launch an ICBM into the Mojave Desert where nobody is, just loaded with what this was loaded with to give us a message? I guess we really can't go to nuclear war with them, especially when Russia told the U.S. they knew what was happening. Okay, and another reason Russia had to tell them. I mean, it pretty much had to tell them. because this would have activated the alert system. Plus, they knew the missiles being moved around and stuff. But when that thing was shot off and it went into the atmosphere, they would have known. And then you have what, 10 minutes, 5 minutes to respond? I always wondered why they didn't, NATO did do something. Okay. But, this is how crazy this is getting. And then Russia says they're going to warn population centers to try to eliminate as few civilian casualties as possible. I'll tell you the easiest way to do that. End the war. But anyway, so they did that ICBM. I mean, crazy. Like I say, they get to test all these weapon systems now. And NATO's just got to kind of sit there and watch. Okay? But yeah, that was a warning too. You darn right it was. I just hope that the Democrats don't get so desperate that they tip one of these missiles or they do a false flag or smuggle a nuke into Ukraine and they get to use it. I mean, what do you talk about smuggling? You got the keys to the armory. All you got to do is give them one. Smuggle it means that do it so in a way that the U.S. the citizenry don't find out about it. Kind of like Fast and Furious, right? But yeah, the U.S. news. Chat disconnected. I haven't had anybody put anything in chat anyway. Kind of a slow night. But you know what? You got to stay consistent. This channel's just starting out. YouTube is it's been going on for a year now. But YouTube slamming it down. And, if you find it, I appreciate it. Watch it. If you don't like what I have to say, believe me, I get plenty of dislikes. It ain't going to bother me. Okay, let's get back. The U.S. knew, though. All right? We didn't know. At least the people in that town just that the bombs are coming, they ain't gonna tell us, all right? Maybe the person who watches all those flight radar data and stuff, he'll know. But anyway, okay. Now, Russia says basically they have the right to use all their weapons at anybody who's supporting this war. Target U.S. assets. What do you think that would look like? Now, I'm sure they're talking about U.S. assets overseas. I don't think they're talking about mainland USA right now. But, the command and control centers, would that be NATO headquarters? I don't know. I mean, Russia's not going to sit there and tell us who they're going to target. When this all goes down and this telling the enemy you're going to hit them before you hit them is all going to be done with, okay? This is the goofiest wars we fight. It's just incredible, okay? Hitler didn't give nobody else a warning, and we didn't give nobody else a warning. That's probably why we never win wars, because we don't fight wars to win them anymore. But, yeah, Russia's going to start targeting U.S. assets, and that'd be NATO assets. Always wondering about that Ramstein, I think it is, Air Force Base there in England. That'd be one heavy place. But anyway, 58 days left. Remember the days of Monica Lewinsky when everything was easy? Okay. 58 days left, and they're doing whatever it can take to start World War III. I don't understand these people that think they're going to go into their bunkers and come out after they've done this to the American people. And I don't care what country you're in. When you've done this to your people, who knows where that bunker is, and you're going to get out alive? I mean, for one thing, that bunker life is going to become prison life anyway. Especially if you're low man. It's just, what was that, the Bounty? Mutiny on Bounty? Yeah. They'll turn out something like that. But one thing, if Russia doesn't respond, that's where I think the false flag will come in. When can you say the, the date around that would be? I would say probably New Year's Eve, New Year's around there would be a good time for a false flag. Anyway, the thing is, after the election, a lot of us thought that things were going to be a lot better, which they were, but we didn't realize what lengths the Democrats would go through to mess things up. I mean, this flat out long range missiles and now the anti personnel mines and stuff, it's going too far. I mean, I heard after they learned that Russia, a day before they learned that Russia was going to launch this missile, they still launched long range missiles into Russia. Okay, Russia's got places for their citizens to go. Tell me anybody in one of your big cities where you got to go. Is your subway going to handle a nuclear strike like they will in Russia? All that money we spend on war, but we don't spend any of it to protect us from the war they're trying to create. We're on our own then. Anyway, but since we're on our own, this is why we're preppers, right? Because we know that the government is not going to be there, especially when crap totally goes crazy for everybody. Everything's going to break down. And all these people in the government, they have families that they're going to be worried about. They're going to say, adios, amigos. The first nuclear bomb goes off anywhere in this world. It don't matter what side set it off. It don't matter how big it was. The Western world is going to go nuts. Talk about running out of toilet paper. It's going to be far worse than that, but that's why we're preppers, right? And it's one thing. It's always something. Before the election, we were worried about civil war. I know I was. I thought they were going to try to cheat their way in. Well, Trump won so big, even with Pennsylvania in that stupid Bucks County stuff, they still couldn't cheat. But you always got to be prepared for something. I would even say, Tuck by V1. Hey, good evening. How's it going? You're my first comment tonight. But we got to prepare for everything these days. We never know what next week's going to bring. I have no idea what my Dukes of Hazzard Friday Night Live next Friday is going to be about. It'll be an interesting week. I hope I get to have it. I hope we're not glowing by then. But you always got to be prepared for everything these days. You got the weather, earthquakes, anything weather related. You always got to be prepared for that. But that's, longest you maybe go without power will be a few weeks, month at the most. Okay, and you'll have neighbors helping you out and stuff. So the weather ain't so bad. Or we could have to deal with the summer of love this summer. But with that new DOD Directive 5240.01, which the Democrats enacted, which gives Trump the authority, or the Secretary of Defense of authority to call out active duty military if civilians authorities call for it in their area, even if they suspect something, and use lethal force. I don't even want to get into that. I said so many videos about that. Nobody in the government should have the ability to call out our military so they can shoot down civilians. It's crazy. Okay. But that goes in with the Civil War. What's January 6th going to bring with these people? They're trying to sit there and say we got away with an insurrection, and they want to think, well, we all know they go 100 times worse than what they think we did. January 6th could be a crazy day. Crazy day. I agree too. Tucked by V1. I hope I'm saying that right. But yeah. And then the one thing about that order too, I say is they don't limit on what weapons can be used. I'm just going to say that. So anyway, financial. We're not out of the woods yet financially. This country is in massive debt. And if anybody thinks that, just imagine if let's say you're making $1 million, okay, a year, but you're actually, we'll just make it responsible. Let's say you're $10 million in debt. You're stressing, okay? But if you're making $1 million compared to what this country is, you're probably what? $10 billion in debt? You can't recover. Tuck works, okay. But you can't recover. And see, this is the thing. Eventually, bills have to be paid. When they say the stock market lost $1 trillion, no. The working guy who puts money as 401k, his money got transferred to pay for the losses of the rich guy that lost all their money. Okay? Money's being worked for, whatever, it's not created. It's not like my boss goes out to the money tree and picks money from it to pay me. He's got to make a profit. So he transfer. It's all a wealth transfer thing. It's all wealth transfer. The only one who can make money out of nothing is the U.S. government, which deflates the money in our wallet. Okay. Another thing, I never thought, I forgot to put another one on here. Never thought I'd have to worry about zombies. I never watched The Walking Dead. I was never into zombie movies, right? But after and seeing the meltdown videos that I have, I'm not sure some of those people are right. I mean, the guys are bad enough, but the women, look at some of their eyes. Oh, I mean, Lizzie Borden and Lorena Bobbitt, that's all I can say. Unsafe. Whatever they're taking for medication, it's not working. But why should I have to be afraid about being in zombies? That's another thing with, and they keep on giving people that stuff. Messing with people's DNA and stuff. It's just not right. And like I say, to the people that are still sick, were you healthier before or were you healthier after? I know people that are suffering still, years later. Okay, and then prepare. Prepare for the Terminator. AI. Robots. I never thought when I watched the Terminator back in the early 80s that could ever come true. And now that's like, I mean, they're probably already at that where the robots do for themselves. It's just nuts, okay? That's nothing we got to worry about. James Bond stuff, when I was a kid, we watched James Bond. I was like, oh, cool, we have all that stuff, gadgets he had. So So much for James Bond. I don't even have watched a James Bond movie in so many years. I don't know what kind of new gadgets do they come up? Does he have like phaser pistols now and stuff? And then the biggest thing, like I say, always something new. World War III. I hope when Trump gets in there, they leave Iran alone. Can we just have some peace? We've been at war since 1990. Yeah, 1990. 34 years. Iraq, the Balkans, Syria. It just doesn't end. And they give money to Taiwan. I mean, technically, Taiwan is part of China. Because they don't touch it. If Alaska wanted to do that, and we decide, okay, we're just going to let them have their autonomy, but we knew we're still in control. Okay. But see, the politicians like Nancy Pelosi, remember with that deal she did before China was telling her not to go, took her son with her and stuff? It's all about money. They don't care about the Taiwanese people. Here, let's just sit there and fill them full of ammunition and weapons and stuff so they can stave off the Chinese so we can make money over there. There's a reason I hate money. Okay. And that's just one of them because it changes people to the point where that's all they want to, that's their whole ambition in life, to get more of it and more of it and more of it. Nancy Pelosi and her insider trading. Anyway, and then, like say World War III. You just got to be prepared for everything these days. You never know when all this stuff is just going to go down. All I know is when Russia's launching ICBMs, even intermediate range, which should be able to hit, I would say, Germany. It's unfathomable. I mean, the day after tomorrow, anybody watch that movie that was on TV back in '83? I remember watching that on TV when I was a kid. It was a 2-night deal, I think. And wow. And that was just over the Berlin, the Berlin Wall and stuff. Crazy stuff. Just over Berlin. This world's a lot more on fire than that. I mean, a lot of good things happened since World War II. I mean, Germany reunited. I mean, kids these days don't understand. Yeah, we're East and West Germany, East and West Berlin. That ICBM was a reminder that they have missiles designed just for European targets. Yeah. These people need to stop. Biden needs the 25th Amendment immediately. And Kamala Harris needs to have enough brains. Look at the people we got in charge still for the next 58 days. Oh my God. And they want to get on Trump's nominees and stuff. When I got to see some man in the cabinet that chest feeds an infant, had to take paternity leave because him and his boyfriend or husband or whatever, and they're going to get on about our picks. What is normal to these people? If I'm not normal to these people, heterosexual, white male, who works his ass off every day, You watch my videos and see that I had the MP say, "You work all the time." Yeah, I enjoy what I'm doing, but who doesn't take medication for anything, whether it be physical or mental, and they want to call me not normal, trash. It's just the brain damage is all the way to the top. Do we all understand that? It's not just the bottoms for the people vote for these people. It's all the way up to the top. And they got the codes for the nuclear weapons and the keys to the stockpiles. And they got 58 more days left to screw stuff up. I know this quote don't really kind of goes for this, but it's not like the U.S. is about to be taken over. But I think it was in March, one of Martin Bormann's boys wrote to him and asked him if the war could still be won. And, he went into the Nazi, basically said, could, but he also said that a dying lion can still deliver dreadful blows with his paws. And, I remember the uniform. Okay, I'm sorry, Tuck. Yeah, that was something else. I mean, the Berlin Wall fall, when I was a kid, I was watching, when they showed how bad communism was in movies and stuff, and you had live true stories about people trying to escape over the wall. I remember the one I watched, they made a hot air balloon out of raincoats and stuff and had to hide it. Just crazy stuff. Like I said, communists build walls to keep people in, okay? Not keep people out. We all need to remember that. When Kamala Harris was talking about building the wall, oh, yeah, I know what it was for. But so you got a piece of the Berlin Wall, huh? Yep. All because two different ideas. I read a lot of memoirs of German soldiers that were taken prisoner and went to Russia. And when they were being released, especially most of them was at 4.5 years later, and how they went to where they were going to go. It's just incredible stories. If you want to read memoirs or listen to memoirs of World War II vets, Japanese, Americans, Germans, Russians, they have them all over YouTube. It's interesting. You get a lot more out of that, especially if you watch a lot of documentaries, about troop movements and where units were at and the battles that went on and stuff. The memoirs just fill in the blanks you might add. Gives, instead of the narrator's point of view, gives their point of view. That's why I say everybody needs to start a diary. So when your grandkids are in years to come are sitting around wanting to listen to his story, you can pull that out and use that as reference and bring your memories back and instruct your kids not how to sit there and run the world into the ground. I just can't believe this. I just can't. I wait to see what next Friday brings. I'll be live on Sunday night again. But I like to talk about, like I say, I was so happy after the election. I want to change this to more happy stuff, okay? But you got to do the pressing stuff. One thing Walter Cronkite said, and since the media isn't going to cover this and stuff, YouTubers have to. But Walter Cronkite said, when Iraq invaded Kuwait that started the first Gulf War, it was because the press didn't bring it to the attention of the people what was going on. Okay? Joe Biden's not talking about, press ain't really talking about it, and we're basically at Cuban Missile Crisis level. Anyway, I guess we have to count down the days again. Had to count down the days to the election. Now we got to count down the days till he gets in office. And then maybe we can all take a deep breath. But I did enjoy that 10 days or 11 days, whatever it was we had. Anyway, that's all the Lone Wolf Prepper has for tonight. Appreciate everybody being here. Good to see you, Tuck. Yeah, things are just going to get interesting. We're living in history, people. A lot of firsts are happening right now. Yeah, you have a great weekend too, Tuck. Anyway, I tell you what, the weather was absolutely beautiful today. Mid 60s, no wind, really no wind. Sun was shining. Last year there was snow on the ground. Anyway, so let's hope it lasts. Probably won't. Everybody have a great weekend, and thank you for being here. And we'll see you later. This is Lone Wolf Prepper, out.